Everybody falls ill. Some get well at home, some go to the doctor and get well. But mostly, one thing is common in both the cases: medicines, drugs. Most of the time, people don't think how this liquid or little piece of tablet cures their sickness, from which he or she is suffering from days. So, today, me and my mates are going to tell you about drug action.
Drugs are chemically synthesized chemicals that control, prevent, cure, and diagnose various diseases and illnesses. They do so by reacting with various macromolecules in the human body and elicit some form of positive biological responses. Pharmaceutical terms, the macromolecules or biomolecules whose function and activity is modified by a specific drug is known as the drug target. This means the drug is designed to specifically target and react with that specific biomolecules. These biomolecules could be protein, nucleic acid receptors, enzymes, hormones, ion channels, etc. Here we will be focusing on two of the main biomolecules when it comes to drug target interaction enzyme. First, let us understand what enzymes are and how they function. Enzymes are biomolecules in the human body and they are form of protein. Their essential function is to be biological catalyst for certain reactions occurring in the body. They regulate these chemical reactions but themselves remain unaffected by them. Molecules that interact with enzymes are called substrate. The reaction will produce new molecules known as product. The enzymes hold the substrate firmly in their active site. This allows the reagent to react with their substrate successfully. The enzymes holds the substrate in the active site by a variety of interactions such as hydrogen bonding, ionic bonding, van der Waals forces, etc. The other function of the enzyme is to provide functional group that will react with the substrate to carry out the necessary chemical reactions that support all our life processes.
Drug enzyme interaction. At certain times, the actions of enzymes need to be controlled, and we do this with the help of drugs known as enzyme inhibitors. Here, the enzyme will be the drug target, that is, the drug will try to impede with the functioning of the enzyme. This can be done in of two ways. Some drugs will rival the substrate by attaching themselves to the active site of the enzyme. They are known as competitive inhibitors. This will not allow the substrate to attach itself to the enzyme, and so the reaction will not occur. But if the concentration of the substrate is far greater than that of the drug, such a method will not work successfully. Then the inhibitors known as allosteric inhibitors will attach itself to the allosteric site of the enzymes. This is any other site than the active site. By doing so, they will change the shape and structure of the enzyme. Now the substrate cannot recognize the enzyme and won't attach itself to the active site, thus inhibiting the catalytic reaction.
Receptors as drug targets. Receptors are also a protein in our body. Their main function is to facilitate communication between two neurons and between neurons and muscles. These biomolecules help us communicate via certain specific chemicals known as chemical messengers. Receptors are usually found in the membrane of cells. They are embedded in the cell membrane in a very peculiar way. Most of their body is contained within the membrane. Only a small portion of the molecule projects out of the membrane in the region outside the cell. This region that projects out contains the active site of the receptor. So, when a chemical messenger approaches the receptor, it binds to the active site of the receptor and the shape of the molecule will change. This will transmit the message to the cell inside the membrane. So, the message will be relayed to the cell without the chemical messenger even entering the cell. There are numerous types of receptors in the human body. These receptors interact with many chemical messengers. The receptors are able to identify their particular messenger because of their difference in the shape, structure, and the chemical composition of the active sites. This allows the receptors and the messengers to interact with selectivity. The drugs that target these receptors do so by impeding its natural functioning. They attach to their active site and inhibit their action and block the communication of the message. These are known as antagonists. Examples include naltrexone and naloxone. Another way a drug targets receptors is by mimicking the natural messengers. This activates the receptors and will produce some kind of biological response. Such drugs that elicit a response from receptors are known as agonists.
What is therapeutic effect of a drug? The effect of any drug on any medical problem is known as therapeutic effect of a drug. It is mostly beneficial, but it can be expected or unexpected. Classification of drugs based on their therapeutic effect or therapeutic agent and their uses are as follows.
Analgesic. First, they are commonly known as painkillers. Second, they act on peripheral and central nervous system. Third, they are used to relieve pains in conditions such as muscle sprain, overuse injuries, etc. Fourth, paracetamol is one of the common analgesics used by common people. It is used to treat pain and fever. It is also used to treat cancer pain after surgery. Fifth, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs also belong to analgesic. These drugs have anti-inflammatory, pain-killing and fever-killing effect.
Antacids. Overproduction of hydrochloric acid in stomach is known as acidity. Acidity causes irritation and pain in the stomach. Earlier, sodium hydrogen carbonate is used to treat the acidity. Metal hydroxides are better alternative for treating the acidity. Hyperacidity also causes ulcer in the stomach. Studies have shown that secretion of hydrochloric acid is promoted due to the secretion of histamine. The drug cimetidine is used to suppress the release of histamine. This decreases the secretion of histamine.
Antihistamines. These drugs are suppressor of histamines. Drugs such as brompheniramine and pteridine act as antihistamines. These drugs compete with receptors where histamine binds.
Antibiotics. They are used to target the bacterial infection. They kill or inhibit the growth of the bacteria. They are ineffective towards viruses. There are two types of antibiotics: broad spectrum antibiotics that target the diverse bacterial infection, but some are narrow spectrum antibiotic that targets only small number of bacterial infection. The most common route for administration of antibiotic is oral. The overdose of antibiotics makes bacteria resistant to the particular antibiotic. Antibiotics can be bacteriostatic or bactericidal. Those that kill the bacteria are known as bactericidal, such as vancomycin, whereas those inhibiting the growth of the bacteria are known as bacteriostatic. For example, tetracycline.
Tranquilizers. First, they are classified as neurologically active drugs. Second, they are used to treat mild to mental illnesses. Third, they help in relief from anxiety, stress, irritability, etc. Fourth, they are consumed as sleeping pills. Fifth, noradrenaline is a hormone involved in mood changes. If the level of this hormone is low, people will suffer from depression. To relieve depression, antidepressants are advisable. 6. They inhibit the enzymes that break down noradrenaline, thus maintain the level of this hormone. 7. Some tranquilizers such as chlorodiazepoxide and meprobamate are relatively mild tranquilizers suitable for relieving tension. Equinil is used in controlling depression and hypertension.
Stimulants. They are drugs that are used to accelerate the activity of the central nervous system. They make us feel more energetic, alert, as well as focused, such as cocaine, amphetamine, etc. They belong to class of neurologically active drugs.
Antiseptics and disinfectants. Antiseptics are chemicals used to kill the microorganisms on living tissues. These are applied on skin with a cut or wound. Examples are furosemide, soframycin, etc. These are not ingested like antibiotics. Dettol is also a very common antiseptic used from a long time. It is composed of mixture of chlorosilanol and terpeneol. Disinfectants are chemical used to kill microorganisms on non-living things such as a flow, drainage system, etc. 0.2% solution of phenol is an antiseptic while its 1% solution is disinfectant.
Antipyretic drugs. These drugs are consumed to reduce the fever or body temperature. Aspirin and paracetamol are the most common antipyretic that are used by common people. These drugs act on prostaglandin induced in increase in temperature.